Welcome to the Critical Breakdown, the podcast where we start at the bottom of Rotten Tomatoes and work our way towards 100% fresh. I'm Scott.
And I'm Max, and today we'll be reviewing Mac and Me, rated 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. So Scott.
Yeah.
Why a podcast?
What a question, Max. Why a podcast? We're both creative types, I think, and we both like banter, and podcast is a good format for banter. We both like movies, so that kind of led us there, right?
Yeah, love movies.
Yeah, so we kind of talked about some ideas, just wanting to do something creative, and this was kind of our best one, and we just took the ball and rolled with it.
It's true. My previous idea before that was reviewing episodes of Battlestar Galactica, Beers, and Bratwurst all at the same time, and calling it Beers, Brats, Battlestar Galactica, so I think we made the right choice.
And I still don't hate that idea.
That could be our next launch.
There's something there.
And for me personally, I would like to kind of journey into film and start with the worst movies possible and work my way towards the best movies you can watch and see what I learn about filmmaking from that.
Yeah, journey is a good way to put it because I think we are both going to gain an appreciation for good movies through watching the Mac and Me's and the rest of the movies down here.
The Battlefield Earths and the Getaways.
Oh, yeah.
So we're in for a treat, and hopefully our audience is as well.
So Max, other than Mac and Me, what have you been up to lately?
Well, I've been reading The Plantagenets by Dan Jones. It's a pretty interesting history book that's honestly kind of set up like Game of Thrones, even though it's real history. So there's no dragons, but there's still sex and violence.
The dragons probably would have made it, but sex and violence is good too. Anything else?
Planning a D&D one-shot for a friend's birthday. And I'm excited about the next season of Game of Thrones, even though it's gone off the rails. Have no clue what's going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm excited for that or not. Because I've been a staunch book guy first, so still cautious about it. But
well, what's been going on in Scott's life?
I saw 10 Cloverfield Lane this past weekend. It came out, and it was good. I'm not going to spoil anything, but I famously did not like the first Cloverfield because of how much it made me vomit.
It's true.
And, yeah, this one didn't make me vomit.
Rivaled only Jurassic Park for how much he vomited.
I have vomited during both of those movies, yeah. But this one was good. I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. It's really tense. Maybe we'll talk about it more another time.
Yeah, I'll check it out soon. Yeah. We could maybe do something with that.
I'd love to. And I'm also looking forward to that D&D campaign that you're going to DM. Because I won't have to DM it.
And why's that?
Because I'll be the player. And I'm the birthday boy.
There you go. Birthday boy.
Yeah. And then it's just Mac and Me other than that. Mac and Me all the way down.
Mac and me. Yeah. Mac and you. Or as Mac himself would say.
His famous quote, yes.
That's all I got. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's fine. It was better than Mac. So back to Mac and Me. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing.
So, pretty much, we're just going to give a spoiler warning from here out. Yeah. If you haven't seen Mac and Me, I recommend
not
watching it. But if you really want to torture yourself, feel free, and then pick up the podcast from here. But just be forewarned, from here out, the floodgates are open.
And those heating this morning, you're really not missing much.
It's true. Yeah. It's true.
So Max, what is Mac and Me about?
After bonding with a stranded alien creature, a shy boy must defy the odds to help the alien contact his missing family.
Yes, exactly.
Sounds kind of familiar.
I don't know of what you could be referring.
Am I describing Mac and Me?
You're talking about E.T., right?
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, basically.
Am I talking about E.T. or Mac and Me?
Exactly.
What does E.T. mean?
E.T. means extraterrestrial.
What does Mac mean?
Mysterious alien creature.
Suspicious.
Yeah, it doesn't stray too far from the not source material, but source material.
Yeah. It's like if somebody defined E.T. in one sentence and then gave a guy money and said, make that movie without any other reference points. He probably still wouldn't make this movie.
I hope he wouldn't make this movie.
but it's not too far from that concept overall. So,
Why did we pick Mac and Me?
well, I remember watching this movie as a child. I think I thought it was good, but I was like 4 when I saw it, so I don't really hold myself accountable for that. It might have just been residual from me liking E.T. so much. And I wanted to see how this movie had 0% from me having such a positive memory of it. What was your reasoning?
Well, there's also the Paul Rudd thing where he goes on Conan, says he's going to play a clip from his new movie, and then plays a very now famous clip from Mac and Me of Eric rolling off a cliff, breaking the brakes off his wheelchair, and falling into a ravine, and then Mac goofily appearing on screen, which is actually how Mac always appeared on screen.
Yeah.
But he does that every time on Conan. So when we were scanning the list of 0% movies, that's the one that it was like, I've heard of that one. Because some of these movies were not very well heard of, or they were like sequels to movies that you did not know existed.
Yeah, for example, there's some where we'd rather just review the originals, which like Joe Dirt 2, released only on Crackle, Highlander 2, The Quickening, and Super Babies, Baby Geniuses 2.
What a dynasty.
And we could save those for like special episodes if we need to. Yeah. And some of the other 0% movies just looked really bad, like the Roberto Benigni Pinocchio movie, which if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it.
It's bad.
Shadow Conspiracy and Killing Me Softly. You never know. We could review those later too.
Yeah, and we only watched the trailers of those, but I feel like we got enough of a taste.
Yeah. It's a very bad taste.
Yeah. Anyways.
So, how did Mac and Me do in theaters?
Well, Mac and Me has a really interesting production. Mac and Me had a budget of $13 million, estimated $13 million, and most of that was from Coca-Cola and McDonald's. It had a profit sharing.
Like feeding the crew?
No, like literally by Coca-Cola and McDonald's. If you watch the movie, that's clear without me having to say it, though. Because especially Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is everywhere, and McDonald's is everywhere, too. And there's tons more product placement.
Give us an example of how Coca-Cola is everywhere.
Well, I think we're going to get into this more in our review, but Mac and his family's original planet is composed entirely of Coca-Cola. They stick straws into the ground and drink Coca-Cola for sustenance.
And this is the first 3 minutes of the film is a NASA probe landing while these aliens use straws to drink Coca-Cola out of the ground.
Yeah, and when we saw that scene, my first question was, how is there liquid in the ground but no plants anywhere? Because it's this barren moon of Saturn or something. Yeah. But then later you find out that Coca-Cola is their lifeblood, their sustenance. It's like, well, now that makes sense. That's good continuity.
Yeah. But, explains why they had no teeth also.
Yeah, and why they looked so creepy. Mac and Me was obviously a flop. It made, according to Box Office Mojo, it made $6.4 million domestically in the theaters. Max, where does that put Mac and Me all time of all movies? Don't look at my sheet.
I'm not. In the thousands.
Oh, it's in the thousands. There's probably 10,000. No, there's probably not 10,000. There's a lot of movies that have come out. It's the 4,915th highest grossing movie of all time. Not too bad. It's also the 13th highest grossing film in the disability, paraplegic / quadriplegic genre. Can you name the number one?
Forrest Gump?
No, I don't think he was a paraplegic. Well, I guess Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
But no, it's Avatar. Because as forgettable as that movie is, I guess the guy was... I remembered it when I saw that.
Yeah.
But, so obviously a flop, which is too bad because the movie did end with a title card saying, "We'll be back."
Still waiting on that sequel.
I'm waiting with bated breath.
Where we go colonize the Coca-Cola planet.
Yeah, that would be the Avatar version.
Really, I wonder if in the screenplay when it says they lived off of Coke, if they meant another type of Coke, but...
I think the writers lived off of another type of Coke.
Somebody lived off of Coke while this film was being made.
Yeah, but... There was a profit-sharing thing with the Ron McDonald House, too, though, so the return on investment wasn't very good there, but for its product placement, you could say it was for a good cause.
Well, those poor children at the Ronald McDonald House.
Yeah, they didn't have to watch it.
Hopefully.
Yeah. One other interesting thing about the production of this movie is Jennifer Aniston is an extra. during a McDonald's dance sequence.
Did we ever find her?
No, we tried. But,
Yeah, we tried to. I don't think...
Then we had to keep watching it, and we decided the
true.
juice wasn't worth the squeeze.
Speaking of dance sequences, there's about 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
the McDonald's scene,
20 minutes. I don't remember how long it was, but yes, inside of a specially built McDonald's just for the film.
Yeah.
Was a dance number. I think they're running from NASA / the FBI, a government agency that they don't ever actually define. The children and the alien run into it.
I think it was NASA. I think NASA was the villain of this movie, which is a questionable message to send.
Yeah.
But yeah, they built a special McDonald's with full kitchen, everything, and never opened it to the public. Can't imagine that was helping the old budget versus box office on this one, but... the dance scene was certainly authentic. When the Washington Redskins players appeared, that's how I knew it was a real dance scene.
Yeah, and Mac is wearing a really weird bear costume the entire time.
Yep.
And, I mean, it was impressive. Honestly, probably the highlight of the film.
Yeah, that was probably the highlight of the film. The other highlight might be that score. Alan Silvestri... really brought it home. 2 times nominated for an Academy Award. That means an Academy Award nominee worked on this film.
And if that rings a bell with you, Alan Silvestri, that is the composer for Back to the Future.
Yeah. Forrest Gump.
Many famous films. You would recognize any of his songs in this movie as an Alan Silvestri song, basically, a score. There are moments where if the alien didn't look so goofy and if the plot wasn't so nonsensical... You could possibly find the music itself touching.
Yeah, especially when it transitions from Silvestri's score into just a classic 80s power ballad, which happened, 2 or 3 times during the movie?
Yeah.
And I can't really say anything was out of place about this movie, because that implies there's a place for it. But some of them were really out of place.
I think the highlight with the power ballads is definitely when Mac gets chased into a tree by a pack of dogs.
While he's on a motorized RC car.
Yeah.
Which
he's running around
mastered.
a power wheel or something like that. Yeah. But he gets chased by these dogs. There's just 12 dogs in the neighborhood for no reason. And he runs up a tree. The dogs bark at him. And then it kind of just fades into this beautiful power ballad melody.
Very touching.
Got us right there.
Yeah.
Right where we wanted to. Just a point of interest for you.
Yeah.
What was that character's name?
Help me out here.
McDonald's girl.
Courtney.
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 The possible love interest for the older brother character.
Michael, I believe.
Michael. Just basically imagine E.T. You have Elliot. You have the older brother. It's the same dynamic, except maybe this brother's a little bit nicer, which is strange.
Yeah, this brother was real supportive.
Yeah.
There was one scene where... Oh, we haven't mentioned it because the movie also didn't mention it, but Eric, the main character, is in a wheelchair the whole movie. I mean, he's paralyzed. So is the actor.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact. But,
which, I mean, overall that's good for representation.
Yeah, I mean...
in film. And you got to think, like, a movie like this, it sounds great. It's for charity.
Yeah.
The main character is in a wheelchair.
Don't make a big deal out of it. He can do the same stuff. Yeah.
One of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. This could have done more for the cause of handicapped kids, I guess. I don't really know if it's a setback, but...
No. But,
anyways, there's a scene where Michael lifts Eric not out of his wheelchair, lifts his wheelchair into a moving van, and it's laughable. You can totally tell it's like a stunt double, because Michael suddenly got some guns.
Yeah, he's stacked out.
Also, how old do you think Michael was? How old would you think he was before you saw him driving for most of the film?
15.
Yeah, because he looked like he was 13 or 14 or something. He looks
like 15 at best. 13 with a crustache maybe.
Yeah, like we all had.
Yeah. He spends most of the movie seducing Courtney.
As we all would.
The cute neighbor girl who works at McDonald's. Yeah. In fact, the McDonald's they built just for this movie.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that she herself was a dancer. Did she dance in the number?
No, she was working at the birthday party, Max.
Yeah, she was working the party. They went to go eat a Big Mac, and... I
can't wait to talk about the party, because it was something.
But just some trivia for you. She was actually in the unaired pilot of Married with Children.
Oh,
and she was playing Kelly Bundy until they decided her acting wasn't strong enough. They replaced her with Christina Applegate.
They must have made the mistake of watching Mac and Me.
Probably. And but at the same time, her performance in Mac and Me, as well as Can't Buy Me Love, won her numerous nominations, at least, for the Young Artist Award in the Exceptional Young Actress category.
Oh, well,
so
that's great.
There you go.
That's better than the Razzies, which I think some other nominees came in for that.
She, on the Wikipedia article for her, it said she was focused on erotic dancing, which to me just sounds like stripping.
Yeah.
Not judging. But apparently it's not. I don't know exactly what it was. I couldn't find any video evidence of this on YouTube. But she also had a clothing line for dance.
For erotic dance?
No, just it looked like kids' dance clothes. So
Courtney's kind of all over the place.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. I don't think, other than extra Jennifer Aniston, I don't think anybody else in this movie really did anything. I saw Michael was in some other things. I don't think Eric was in much.
Wonder what Mac went on to do.
Hopefully nothing. He was waiting on the sequel. Or maybe New Coke really killed Mac.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, it was just incompatible with their DNA.
Yeah. But, okay, so reviews, obviously we're at 0%. Not a positive review in the book. The average score is terrible. I think the IMDb score was like 3.2, which is really low for IMDb because anyone can vote on that.
It might have even been in the 2s.
Oh, boy.
It was low.
It was a deserved 2.
Yeah. So, Scott, how'd you like Mac and Me? What were your thoughts?
How did I like Mac and Me? I don't want to disparage 4-year-old Max. You know, that's not fair. It's some 4-year-old Max. But I didn't think Mac and Me was a very good movie. It's hard to see where it went right. Like, let's talk about the good things about Mac and Me. All right, now, moving on. I'm just kidding. But, no, I mean, it wasn't funny. Other than, like, the aliens being so laughably poorly animated. Maybe. Like, that's funny. But that's not the kind of stuff you want to be funny, I don't think.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, when I put myself back into the mind of a child and I watch the movie, I think there's shots that are funny. Like, the weird POV shots of a distended-bellied alien running around. That's funny.
Let's talk about the aliens real quick. Because I don't think we're doing them justice.
I think you want to talk about the good stuff.
I don't think you can understand Mac and Me until you understand how strange these aliens look. So I watched E.T. after we watched this because they're clearly going for that.
Yeah.
And E.T. certainly doesn't look human in any way or doesn't look earthly in any way, but E.T. doesn't creep me out.
You want to hug him.
You want to hug E.T.
Yeah.
E.T. looks kind of adorable almost. E.T.'s like more like a plant than a strange humanoid thing. The aliens in Mac and Me are ridiculous. They have those bug eyes, big ears. Their cheeks puff out. They're bow-legged. They move so unnaturally.
They have saggy skin.
Yeah, they have saggy skin. They have like beer bellies or pregnant bellies.
Distended bellies.
Yes, distended bellies. It's so strange. Watching them move is worse than an extended close-up of them, though. Because
they whistle
for
communication.
They whistle and they make big U hand motions.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So every time the aliens were on screen, which is, 90% of the movie?
Yeah.
It's really hard to watch.
They're nightmarish.
They're very nightmarish.
I don't know why I like that as a child. There's moments, like I said. I mean, there's funny shots of them. There's the one where Mac gets smashed into the windshield.
Yeah.
There's a part where Mac gets sucked up into the space machine from NASA.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it. The probe.
The NASA machine.
The lander.
Yeah.
It looks like 3 vacuum cleaners taped together, so...
Yeah, that's probably giving it too much
Speaking of
credit.
vacuum cleaners...
He gets sucked into another vacuum.
Yes, that's how they capture him.
And I believe Eric's friend, the little girl, gets violently tossed around the room trying to hold on to this vacuum.
It looks like they break her back.
Yeah. Also, that's because it's obviously a rag doll at one point.
Which is strange they use a rag doll for that, but used a real person for the wheelchair launching scene.
Yeah. The actor who plays Eric, the scene that Conan unfortunately sees all the time from Paul Rudd, that scene where he launches himself off the cliff, there's an actual stunt double in the chair then, and then he's drowning in the river for the next scene, and it's actually the actor. That's probably the best acting in the movie because the actor was drowning.
It's called dedication to the craft.
That is dedication to the craft. But, okay, so what else was good? You could find fun in the McDonald's dance scene. The football players there, the breakdancers outside, the total ridiculousness of it.
There's a few shots that are honestly well shot. There's a couple moments where decent cinematography shows up in this film. A couple.
Example?
Well, I loved the dramatic sweep around Mac as he whistles to the sky.
Yeah,
in the sunset.
Those scenes you can tell are put in there to try and give it that like art level.
But some of them are well composed.
Yeah.
Now, since the subject material is, like I said, nightmarish, there's that. Well, honestly, though, Mac is a little bit better than his family.
His family, the adult versions of Mac, because Mac's a baby alien or whatever.
I think he's a puppet most of the time.
Yeah, except for those scenes where they had him running, and all you could see were his legs.
Like his squat legs, yeah.
Yes.
So most of the time he's a puppet, which comes off like it's like a less cute Yoda type of situation.
Way less.
Yeah. So the kind of Yoda you'd kick out of bed at like 3 a.m., So Mac, there's moments where you're like, he's not disgusting, but then you see his family and...
They are disgusting.
Yeah. They're the reason CGI exists.
Yeah. I'll give anyone who uses too much CGI a pass because of Mac and me.
Exactly.
But, all right, so is that all the positives? The score was fine.
Score?
Was fine. It wasn't good. It was fine.
It was fine. It was acceptable.
As Max said, it definitely seemed like a Back to the Future cutting room floor.
Yeah, the B-sides.
Yeah, the B-sides of Back to the Future. I'm just racking my brain for more good out of this.
There's funny things. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's not like drinking game funny.
No.
It's drink to forget funny.
Yes.
So there's that.
All right, so let's talk about this plot before we get too drunk to forget it. It starts off on mysterious planet.
Coca-Cola 7.
Coca-Cola 7. the NASA whatever lands on it, takes a soil sample, and then vacuums up a baby alien. As if that was its goal. Immediate soil sample, what organism to vacuum. And Mac's family's first thought when they saw this was throw rocks at it. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I don't think the education's that high in Coca-Cola 7.
I don't think it is either. Probably because they're the only organisms on it.
They spend most of their time laying on their bellies, drinking Coca-Cola out of the ground.
Yeah, with these weird zigzag straws.
Yeah.
And they also use the same straws to poke and prod. It's like the one tool they invented, and they're just, we're done. We're sticking with this. There's Coke in the ground, and I'm good. So it sucks up Mac, I believe, first, and then the rest of the family while they're there. And then it lands back at NASA headquarters in somewhere in California. This is definitely taking place in California.
Were you ever confused by the size of Mac?
Was I ever confused?
In that opening scene, he's like a newborn baby size.
Yeah, weren't they carrying him?
They were carrying him like high up, like he was tiny.
Yeah.
Gets sucked up in the vacuum, then he's big enough to like run around a science lab and escape. His family stays about the same size.
Well, let's be fair. Who knows how long that journey was?
It's true.
It goes from Saturn and pans to Earth, so
yeah,
it assumes a passage.
We don't even see the NASA craft land.
No, yeah,
it's just in the lab all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But then when we get to McDonald's and he's in the bear costume,
yeah,
he's like a good 3 feet tall.
Yeah, he's probably a 12-year-old in there.
Yeah, so size issues all over the place.
Yeah, continuity issues.
Anyway, back to where you were.
Yeah, so they leave Coca-Cola 7, see Saturn in the background, we pan over to Earth, and then boom, we're there. We can assume some passage of time, but it's not important. They land back in the NASA lab where you see some pretty nefarious scientists. And I didn't like this message from the start, that NASA was the bad guy.
Yeah, drink Coke, NASA's bad.
Yeah, drink Coke and fuck science. They pry open that machine. And I want to start talking about the powers that Mac's family has now. Because they just kind of do whatever they want.
Whatever works.
They come out of the machine with a massive explosion. Nobody dies, though, so that might be a power. But then to leave the actual lab, they just touch the walls and electric currents run through it and they just run away. There's tons of security here because maybe 20 people with guns come out at Mac and then the other 3 aliens are gone They just get out in the desert. That was
They
easy.
didn't even look for Mac then.
No, yeah. And then Mac just scurries on by. And then they're right by the highway. This facility was like right off the exit. You could see the sign where it says like McDonald's.
And like San Bernardino or something.
Yeah, right outside Sacramento or something. Yeah, it was crazy. Because then there was a whole bunch of accidents when Mac ran onto the highway.
Yeah.
And that's how he ended up with the Cruz family.
That's true. Was that their last name, the Cruz?
Yep. Eric Cruz, Michael Cruz, and Mama Cruz.
Not like the candidate, though. Like Tom Cruise, right?
Yeah, like Tom Cruise. Yeah. Not like Ted. I'll give Mac and me that.
Yeah.
So Mac climbs into the back of their car.
What does he do then?
Well, he takes Eric's Coke, I believe.
He does.
And burps.
And burps.
At least he recognized the label, so he knew that's what he needed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a smart alien. But yeah, so he's in the back of the car. Eric, Michael, and Mom, they're moving. They're moving to California.
Yeah.
Where's Dad, Max?
I don't know.
Max just explained everything that they did.
Yeah. So, Dad's not there. We never meet Dad.
Well, we do see Dad in one
photo.
standoff scene where Eric picks up a picture of the family, does the classic like rub his finger over Dad's face, and then Dad's out of the picture. We're done.
So at this point in the movie, when we realize they're moving to California, it's this family, this single family, my first thought was this movie needs Steve Guttenberg. It needs something to tie it together to the 80s. And I feel like Steve Guttenberg could have improved this movie.
Why Steve Guttenberg?
Just thinking of like a dopey dad type of character to come in.
Okay, that's fair.
And be
Yeah,
a
dopey
surrogate
dad.
father.
A dopey dad could have saved this.
I don't know about saving it, but maybe rounded it out some. Maybe the difference between a 0% and a 1%.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, first note to myself there was just needs more Guttenberg.
Needs more Gut. So they get to their new house, and I mean, it's a nice house considering. I don't remember if this was explicitly said, but there were points where they talked about like money and how they weren't very well off, and they buy a pretty nice house.
I assume that's dead dad money.
That's probably dead dad money, yeah.
Because she works at Sears Roebuck.
She got a big new job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what she does there. They mentioned lingerie at one point.
Oh yeah, they did mention lingerie. So hey, whatever puts the bread on the table.
Yeah.
They did also mention that the whole house
Whatever
was
gets
handicapped.
the Coke in the can.
They mentioned that the whole house was wheelchair accessible, which, as a one-story house, I never had any doubts. But they made sure to mention that. That's really the most they said.
Ramps and stuff like that. Yeah. That makes sense.
That's the most they said about Eric's being in a wheelchair.
I guess that's something positive we missed.
Yeah, that was...
They don't treat anything about Eric as if he's weird or strange or... I mean, because obviously he's not.
Yeah.
But it just is.
Yeah, and like there's scenes where the mom says, "Do you want to go for a run?" And Eric's there, and so it definitely didn't hinder him at all, which is good. I mean, you don't see many displays like this in movies.
No, I mean
of handicapped character. I guess what's Drake and Degrassi.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I didn't watch it, so
we all know of it though. That's something we missed on our positive list.
Yeah. So they're back at the house now, and Max still has not revealed himself to Eric, other than through some more ways he has power. Eric takes out his TV as they're unpacking from the move, and Mac turns it on with no plug. And Eric's able to turn it off and on a few times until Mom comes in the room. So I think like adult humans are Mac's kryptonite. That's where I got with this.
He does spend most of the movie being scared of them.
Yeah, and remember the next scene where he has footprints everywhere. They're there until they were outside, and Mom's there, and the footprints are gone.
That's true.
So it's either kryptonite or he's doing that on purpose.
Also, why did they act like that was Eric's fault?
Yeah, I don't know. That's actually fair.
So
I would have ruled Eric out of that one.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily. Do they have a dog? I don't remember. There's no dog, right?
There's no dog, I don't think, yeah.
This movie could have used a dog, too.
Well, there was the dogs that chased Mac into the tree.
I guess that's true. Mac doesn't like dogs.
Yeah, Mac's not a
dogs
fan.
don't like Mac, so...
Nobody likes Mac.
Yeah. Well...
So Mac comically power drills a hole into a wall and reveals himself to Eric with his ridiculous eyes.
He also redecorates the house to look like the desert or something?
Yeah, he put a bunch of like cactuses and stuff in it. Which is, I guess, the first sign that Mac maybe knew his family was in the desert. Because this whole time, they're interspersing these like 30-second scenes of just like starving family in the desert.
Just wandering through the desert, starving.
No search on them or anything. No hustle, just we're dying.
Yeah.
So Mac knows that, though. There's another scene where he lays out newspaper ads for Eric. I guess it's for Eric, because he still hadn't revealed himself to Eric at this point.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
But one of the ads was the billboard that was in the desert. That's kind of a red herring, I guess, for the end of the movie, where they find the family by going to that billboard, which...
Yeah. Would it be a red herring? That would be just...
I'll be honest with you, Max. I don't know what a red herring is.
That's like a fake clue.
Yeah.
Like a clue that leads you to the wrong direction.
Well, it's a blue herring then.
Yeah.
If it sounds like we're all over the map with this Eric and Mac relationship, we are. This was the movie.
My note to myself at this point was, I wish I was asleep.
My note was plot device nonsense.
Nightmarish communication.
Yeah, that's the whistle and the U.
Nonsensical drill scene.
Yep, that was pivotal. Yeah. I think the drill scene is what leads us to Eric weeping, going to the edge of the cliff, and falling into the water.
Which is really where the plot kind of cinches itself, because Mac saves him. The neighbor girl sees him getting saved by the strange creature that she thought just lived with them.
Yeah, she thought it was a dog or a little brother or something.
Easily mistaken, I get that. And so then...
And the doctor who comes and services him...
Yeah, Eric is injured slightly.
Yeah.
Doctor comes.
Says he's crazy.
Says
we got some pills. I'll put you right to sleep.
You're crazy.
Yeah. So, if there's a 3-act structure in this movie, is this the end of Act 1?
Yeah, this is really where we transition to Act 2. Right. This is where... the meat and potatoes of Mac and Me are...
So the whole Act 1 is
ideally, this would be where they are, but this movie barely has a plot.
Yeah, there's not much meat on the bone there. This is where it goes from Mac hiding from Eric / taunting and teasing Eric to trying to reveal himself.
So this is the vacuum plan. This is where they hide in the closet and capture Mac by putting Coke all over the house?
Yeah, they left a bunch of...
straws
cups of Coca-Cola with straws out.
And so Mac finally shows up and takes the bait, and they capture him with a vacuum.
Yep, they suck him right into a vacuum. The vacuum goes out of control, pulls the neighbor across the ceiling.
Puts the power out for the whole neighborhood.
Yep, causes short there. And that's kind of how NASA works back in?
Yeah.
NASA looking for Mac.
The power surge. And starts showing up to look for him.
Yeah. Meanwhile, NASA could probably send a single Jeep to the desert and find 3 Macs.
But they're adults, so they don't see their footprints.
That's true. That's true. Foolproof.
Yeah. Strong plot right there. Yeah. So yeah, they...
So Mac... I guess this is where Michael buys into the whole Mac's a thing. Because no one believes Eric. And one of my favorite parts about Eric is he says ridiculous things and is so incredulous when people don't believe him. He'll be like, Mom, it's an alien. And Mom's like, is it Eric? And he's like, come on. And there's another scene way later in the movie, which there's really no way to explain it. But one of the adult aliens has a gun. And he's like, not going to hurt anyone. And he'd already shot the gun once. It's like... And the cop's like, well, I don't know about that. And Eric's like, come on, man. It's so ridiculous. But so the whole time when he's trying to convince Michael and Mom, it's like, there's no way they couldn't believe him. But
yeah, so they capture him. Michael sees the alien. He understands now that his brother's not crazy.
Yeah.
And then as soon as Mom shows up, Mac scatters. He just runs off. And it's weird because Eric's upset. Mom's like, the power's out. What happened? There's no alien. It's all ludicrous. Then the next day, they go on their jog through the neighborhood.
Yep.
And that's when the power ballad kicks in.
Yeah, well, so they're jogging, and Mac, for some reason, gets into like the Power Wheels kind of car, and it's flying in it. He's really moving. And he's getting chased by like a dozen dogs, and they never turn around and look. So quiet footsteps from Mac. Well, not even footsteps from Mac.
Yeah.
But they end up on the highway below, and there's this really beautiful scene of Mac. He almost looked like he was crucified for a minute, didn't he? He was up in this like cactus tree, like stuck there, surrounded by all the dogs. Power ballad kicks in. You see Mom and Eric running by. Just really tough stuff for Mac. This is where they want you to really feel for Mac. He's not some miscreant who's bothering Eric.
This is about our midpoint where we turn the film around and things really start happening for Mac and the crew.
Yeah, so I can't remember. This is around the time that that they discovered Mac drinks Coke. Well, they knew he did, but they gave him a bunch to kind of heal him after his accident with the dogs. Mac comes and fixes the house, which is he fixes it no longer decorated like a desert. He fixes everything except Eric.
Yeah.
Eric was really like sick or injured from his fall. No problem there though. This is where Eric's plan to dress him up like a stuffed bear really kicks in.
3 foot tall stuffed bear.
3 foot tall stuffed bear. So he has to go to a birthday party, and the NASA's there trying to get Mac, and the car's there to pick him up. And so what does he do? He's like, oh, luckily I have this bear costume.
Yeah.
And at first I thought that was super weird, why it was a perfect fit for Mac, which is fair considering that Mac's size changes a lot. But like Eric, I guess, would be about that size, so it could have been like a Halloween costume he had or something. Theoretically, it was just sticking up for.
It's that strong plot right there.
Yeah, that's strong plot. But so they all get in this car, and the adult believes that Mac's actually a computerized stuffed bear.
Yeah.
Because he's moving.
Yeah, very computerized.
Yeah, and they get to the McDonald's where the dance scene kicks in.
Where a flash mob shows up.
Yeah, the first flash mob ever, because there's no dancing. Well, there's the break dancers in the street. And then they get inside, it's just like a normal, busy McDonald's. And then they kick into another number. And it's beautiful.
So for McDonald's, is that where they get into the chase? Into Sears
that's
Roebuck?
afterward, yeah. So there's the McDonald's dance scene, which one thing I want to mention, it's another power of Max, is his stretchy arms. There's one point where he's sitting at a table and reaches across the restaurant and takes a kid's Coke, of course.
Yeah.
But that's another one of his powers. And there was another scene where I think Mac got to stretch him. Maybe it was in the car when he took Eric's Coke because he was in the way back.
Yeah, he stretched there. He stretched when he saved him in the water.
Yeah, he stretched when he saved him in the water, too.
And I want to say there might be one or two more stretches, but I don't remember.
Yeah, there's some stretches. There's some stretches.
Yeah, there's the whole movie's a stretch.
Yeah.
So we hit up Sears Roebuck.
Yeah, so the NASA tracks them back to McDonald's. They follow the car, the birthday car. There's a good dance number. And then Eric's rolling away with Mac in his lap. This scene is so E.T., it's not even funny. They're going through backyards. They get clothes on them. So it's like the scene when Elliot had E.T. on his bike. It's just like that, except it's way worse. That's the only difference.
That's the entire description of this movie.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
It's E.T., but way worse.
Yeah. So they end up at Sears where Mom's working. How did they lose? They lost the NASA guys around here. I think
Mac
just tripping.
Blew up a TV and threw it
Right.
down.
Yeah, and he locked the doors, the electronic doors.
Yeah.
So Mac has some Magneto in him there, shutting the metal there. Or maybe it's just the electronics he's
To be fair, I think we've all had some Magneto in us.
They get away, though, and Michael picks them up. I don't remember where... No, Michael was at McDonald's, too. So he must have been in pursuit. That's when we have... That's right, the van scene... Eric rolling along, Michael just swoops him up in a wheelchair, and they drive into the desert. This is where we see our not red herring, the billboard.
Our giant plot device.
Yeah, Mac knows that his parents must be there. Which also, I don't want to start trying to talk sense in this movie, but how would he know his parents were there? He was split when they left the...
Well, the whistle talk.
The whistle talk, so they must have...
When you hold your hands up in the sky and whistle... At your family, I mean, you're just bound to know where they are.
Yeah. Well, where they were was in a cave well off the road.
Let's take a step back here for a second to what I call cinematic perfection.
Okay, let's hear it.
So in this old, 90s or 80s, this old 80s Dodge Caravan, whatever they're driving, they're in the desert, and they see the billboard, and what do? They pull off into a field full of horses.
I may have dozed off.
There's a horse scene where they're driving up a dirt path surrounded by horses, and it's like 45 seconds of this van racing horses.
Yeah.
And there's no explanation. It's probably dangerous for the horses.
Being involved with this
Mac's
movie.
never seen a horse. He has no reaction to it.
No. Maybe there's horses on Coca-Cola 7.
Maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's where, after the horses, where they find the cave. And I
believe Michael wanders in and finds...
Yeah, Michael went hero mode.
Yeah.
So they drive for who knows how long, because it's like night now, right?
Eating
or it's
ice cream.
Like dusk.
Yeah, it's dusk.
Yeah, they do have ice cream.
Yeah. No
They stopped for
explanation.
like maybe a Coke probably a Coke for Mac and got some ice cream. And then they get there and Michael wanders into the cave and sees 3 more of these aliens, but the adult ones. And then the preteen girl, who there's no way to tell until the end when she's wearing a dress. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We thought it was like the older brother, and then I can't even begin
Forgive
to
us
explain that end.
for applying our own gender stereotypes to these alien
Yeah.
creatures.
I guess he still could have still been a he.
They
are just like dead. They're pretty much corpses. So Michael has the good sense to go back for the Coca-Cola.
As any responsible 15-year-old would do.
Yeah. So they go back and get the Coke and nurse Mac's family back to life. And now the van is crowded.
Very crowded.
So they go back to
Mac's father is aggressively kind of attacking things in the van.
Yeah, he kept like
trying to break stuff.
Yeah, and like the little neighbor girl, he went for her a couple times. Not like that probably, but this is where I do love that they teach them. They knew children's games like Simon Says.
Yeah,
that was on Coca-Cola 7, I guess.
Yeah.
So because they played that to distract the father. They go to a gas station though to get gas and Coca-Cola, as one would, and of course the nuclear alien family gets away.
Yeah, they have a freak out because somebody's drinking a soda next to them, and I think Mac's dad, being the stand-up guy that he is, like stretched his arms out to grab it.
Yeah.
The lady freaks out. They get out. Then they storm into a grocery store.
Yes, this is where they storm into the grocery store.
How did they get a gun?
So the grocery store security showed up, and in good security guard fashion, holds this alien up at gunpoint, and then Daddy Mac just takes the gun. And so then the cops are called, and this is when it just totally goes off the rails.
Yeah.
The rails were an idea, and now we're just gone.
So, mysterious alien creature's father has a gun in a grocery store. He's never seen a gun.
No.
Doesn't even know what a gun is, but he's using it.
He knows it's an aggressive tool. He needs Coca-Cola, and they get Coca-Cola. Didn't they? They came out of the store with bagged groceries
of Coca-Cola.
So they went and got their Coke, and then went through the line and said, "Please bag this.
Yeah.
I know what those are for." They get outside, and now there's like the whole California Police Department there, helicopters, everything. And the scene that follows it was hard to follow, and it's so ridiculous. They go across the street to like an old Western general store where Mac's father fires his gun. This is when the cops determine he's a threat. And this is when Eric is at his most incredulous. Eric says, "He's not a threat. What could possibly make you think that?" And then Eric rolls after them. The cop shoots again, or the cop shoots after Mac shoots again. Yeah. And there is a Michael Bay level explosion. Like towering inferno.
Yeah.
Everything's down, including Eric. Poor Eric.
Which I thought at first he was riddled with bullets from these police.
Yeah, you would think so when you roll into an active battlefield.
Yeah. We don't see the alien creatures. They're gone for the moment.
Yeah. In the smoke and the haze.
They weren't in the explosion. They were in front of it, but they're just gone.
Yeah. And you got to think of what was going through these cops' mind after the handicapped 9 to 10-year-old rolls in and they open fire. You got to be thinking that's a lawsuit. That's not going to look good. But luckily, Mac and his family are back because they do kind of a prayer circle.
Yeah.
And bring
light
him,
as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yeah, it was exactly like that. they bring him back to life. Another power.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was going to be like Eric, drink this Coke and you'll be fine. But no, it was...
That would have been great. That would have been like bookends.
That would have been very good.
Yeah.
But no, they just bring him back to life. The cops probably breathe a sigh of relief. And then there's the end of the movie. From there, it directly transitions to a courtroom.
Yeah. Well, the NASA scientist running into a courtroom.
Yeah, so that's how you know that Mac and his family really won the NASA guys over. They go to a courtroom to a naturalization ceremony where Mac and his whole family are indoctrinated as citizens of the United States. And they're wearing human clothes, and nothing has looked more ridiculous than this.
Yeah, and I just wonder how you can take, like, a vow. like that. How can you take something so serious when your only way of communicating is whistling?
Yeah, and the U shape.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. God, what a ridiculous ending this movie. Then they get into a pink Cadillac?
Yeah, pink Cadillac.
Yeah, and they just drive away.
Drive off.
We'll be back. Scene. It was horrible. This is when we find out that older alien's child is wearing a dress.
Yeah.
I guess not necessarily a girl.
Yeah. It just expresses itself to the female side of things.
Yes.
And that's fine.
Yeah, no, that's great. Man. Not a good movie.
No. Terrible writing.
Horrific writing.
Direction, barely there.
Written and directed by the same person, so.
Yeah.
I think 2 people wrote it, but Stewart Raffill definitely was
And
directing.
I think Steve Feke.
Yeah,
was the other writer. Like I said before, there's moments where the cinematography isn't terrible.
Yeah, there's moments where you can't blame the cinematographer for that. I don't think. You can do your best. The guy who did the cinematography, Nick McLean, he did Spaceballs, he did Short Circuit, he did The Goonies.
Yeah.
All fine films. Not award winners, but they're fine.
I don't remember what the director did before this, but I feel like he had at least one movie that was not terrible. He directed at least The Philadelphia Experiment.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't know much about it. I've heard of it.
I remember it being fun. But then again, I remembered this movie positively too.
Yeah,
So.
he must have used up all his fun.
Because then he went on to direct Mannequin 2 on the Move, which falls into another one of our maybe categories.
Yeah, it's of the quality of its, 12% or wherever it ranked.
He also did Tammy and the T-Rex.
Oh, boy. I'm going to judge these movies on their posters. I think that's fair after watching Mac and Me.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Oh, he's got a movie in development right now.
Through Maria's Eyes.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that one.
Yes, we will.
Or at least Maria's Eyes.
Anything else on the plot of Mac and Me? There's not much on the plot of Mac and Me. The plot of Mac and Me is like if you had a puzzle put together and it was the Mac and Me. Or it was E.T. The puzzle is E.T. And then you take all the pieces of the puzzle and just throw them against the wall and sweep some of them away and you take what's left and you're like, we can do this.
So what did you learn from Mac and Me?
Jesus. What did I learn from Mac and Me? It's hard to watch a kid's movie through an adult lens. I think it's a little bit unfair at times. But then I thought there's other kids' movies that have not adult in that way, but they have appeal to an older crowd. Like, the first thing I thought of was Shrek, which is a very good movie, but that works on 2 levels. I'm pretty sure Mac and Me works on no levels, because I don't think I could show this to, like, a younger cousin of mine and them enjoy it.
I feel for this movie to really work, you have to be near 4, like I said.
When
I was 4, I enjoyed it. I have no memories of it, though.
Yeah, when you're 4, though, I think it's kind of like the you sit down and whatever's on you enjoy.
If it's distracting enough.
Yeah.
I think I learned that anybody can aspire to be American.
Clearly.
And that blatant consumerism is the way to get there.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess if you're a cold-blooded Coke-drinking organism, you're an American.
I would like to see in a sequel, maybe there's a Pepsi faction they go against.
Yeah, another Moon of Saturn, maybe.
Yeah.
I can't see them being more terrifying than Mac and his family. Though they could probably pull out something.
Yeah. Call up Raffill. See what's going on.
The only thing more terrifying about the sea would be if they went back to Coca-Cola 7 and there were more of them.
Yeah, there's just like thousands of these like distended belly creatures crawling on the rocky terrain, drinking their zigzag Coca-Cola straws.
What about this, though? What if the movie was made today? What if it was made today with, like, CGI and, like, the things we see in movies like this today? Though, now I'm thinking about it, there's not really that one cartoon character in a human movie trope anymore.
Yeah.
But let's say this was made today. Could decent effects on Mac and some of these goofs where, like, it's obviously a stunt double... and some of these scenes that were totally ridiculous falling into the river and stuff. Maybe they clean that up. Could anything about this work?
Not as a full feature. I mean, if you fixed everything with this movie, you have E.T.
That's true. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. In theory, if you had to boil it down to, like, what is the best parts of this film, we barely could come up with that. Yeah. We had equality in the casting and those choices. Score. So, but about the story itself, a lost alien looking for his family. It's E.T.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way around it. But could you fix this film? I don't think you could fix this film.
No. Yeah, there's
Not
so
not
much
until you
wrong
get
with
back
it.
to the writing.
Yeah, it starts there for this film. I watched E.T. again, and there's so much about E.T. that's well done. And, I mean, E.T.'s a Spielberg movie, so no offense to Stewart Raffill or the cast and crew here, but that's not really fair, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a Spielberg movie with a Spielberg budget, with a John Williams score. Like, nothing about these are on the same level.
Yeah.
Like, you could just say this was just a project made for charity.
This is your grocery store generic cola versus your high quality Coca-Cola.
Bring it home, Max. That's good. Anything else on this?
Don't watch it unless you really, really want to.
Yeah, that's... Don't watch it unless you're starting a podcast series at 0%,
Yeah.
and this feels tolerable.
Yeah.
If you are starting a podcast at 0%, first don't, because we're doing that, and pick one of the other ones.
Yeah. Maybe not Joe Dirt 2, though. That did look worse than
That
this.
looks so bad.
Yeah.
And we can watch the trailer for Joe Dirt 2, which came out in 2015, and it already looks like it's aged poorly. Like, that's how bad it was. I thought Shadow Conspiracy looked okay.
Was that the
That
Charlie
was the
Sheen
Charlie
one?
Sheen
Yeah.
action, like, super generic looking hacker against the world.
We'll do like a second chance episode.
Maybe.
So,
Yeah. I don't want to dwell in the zeros too long.
Well, we'll post these trailers on the site so you guys can check them out.
Yeah.
And we'll maybe get one or two of our favorite Mac and Me clips up there as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely post. I've actually grown quite a liking for the title theme, Bobby Caldwell's "Take Me, I'll Follow You" song, which was co-written by Adam Silvestri. Maybe we'll take you out with that.
Yeah. So, where can our guests find you, Scott?
Where can they find Scoots? Scoots has been a social media hermit for quite a while, but you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter at a Twitter handle to be determined.
To be determined.
You can find us on our website,
Which is?
thecriticalbreakdown.com.
Yes, sir.
Email us at thecriticalbreakdownpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. Critical Breakdown, the Critical Breakdown podcast at gmail.com for sure.
Yeah, and that's all on the website.
Yeah. And Breakdown Podcast is our Twitter handle.
Yeah, shoot us a tweet.
Yeah, hit us
Send
up.
us an email.
And you can find me on Twitter at Max Rivera Film, on the website as well, and on YouTube, just Maximilian Rivera.
Uh-huh.
So,
Hey, Max, why don't you go eat a Big Mac?
Go eat a Big Mac.